FedEx cannot keep up with demand, and every single FedEx shipment is 8 days delayed.
Interesting.
Nationwide.
Wow.
So I saw that, and first I went, "Oh my God, we're gonna have so many returns." And then I also thought, wait, like Mexican e-commerce is going crazy. Like for FedEx, like FedEx is
Yeah.
an institution. This isn't a bicycle messenger or this is FedEx. For them to go, hey guys, hold up, give me 8 days, I can't keep up.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. In the realm of Mexican e-commerce, unique nuances shape the landscape, setting it apart from its counterparts, particularly in the United States. One striking trend is the exponential growth of the Mexican e-commerce sector, outpacing the expansion observed in the US market. The surge can be attributed to various factors, including increased internet penetration, rising smartphone usage, and a growing middle class with greater access to digital services. However, navigating the Mexican business environment comes with its challenges, notably bureaucratic hurdles that businesses must navigate to establish and operate successfully. In today's episode, our guest, Ramiro Velasco, discusses the nuances of Mexican market and how it differs from other markets. He also describes it from both perspectives when Mexican companies might be trying to penetrate to the US market or the US companies might be trying to penetrate to the Mexican market. Finally, he describes several other cultural differences that make the Mexican market unique and one of the fastest growing. Let me introduce Ramiro to you. Ramiro is an engineer, entrepreneur, co-founder, and expert in e-commerce. After university in the UK, he returned to Mexico in 2017 and dove straight into applying his problem-solving skills to the e-commerce world. He joined AMZ Advisors and achieved massive growth for 50-plus seven-figure brands on the Amazon platform. He now helps brands break into the Latin American e-commerce markets and tackle all the challenges that foreign brands face. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hey Ramiro, welcome to the show.
Hey Sam, seriously, thank you for having me.
Of course, and I'm going to have so much fun with you. You have this personality, which I absolutely love. Your energy is amazing. So I think I'm going to have so much fun in this episode.
Oh no, you're overselling me, man. Oh no.
No, I'm not
I'm
overselling you at
joking.
all, man. I'm underselling you right now. Okay.
Oh no. That's perfect. Thank you. You're very, very kind, Sam. We do indeed have a very nice rapport.
Yeah, so we are going to have a lot of fun. So if my audience may not know you, do you want to provide a quick intro as well as your current focus these days?
Absolutely. I'll try to do my history as fast as possible. So I was born here in Mexico. I then got picked up, taken all around the world, lived in over 10 countries. And about, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, I decided, all right, I got to get back to Mexico. Like, this is my home. So much to the dismay of my father, who said, what are you doing? Like, there's opportunity abroad now. Like, this is my home. So I came back, got into e-commerce, literally almost as soon as I landed. Had a really good time working for an agency, growing brands, just overall being on Amazon US. And when it came time to do my own thing, I ended up looking at my surroundings, which is Mexico, and realizing just how far behind we are in the e-commerce sort of trajectory. So I partnered up with some people, and we decided to start just helping brands come into Mexico. Mostly I'm on TikTok and I'm watching, brands that I can't get here, and it's quite
Yeah.
disappointing. And it's like, all right, like there's definitely a market here for the local consumer to get access to international brands via e-commerce in ways that really aren't possible yet. So that's me.
Yeah, so very interesting, and I'm going to have so much fun digging into that because any of the geography they have very specific nuances. That's what I like to dig into and learn from it. So before we do that, I mean, we have one of these standard questions that we ask every single guest, and that is going to be, Ramiro, your perspective on business growth.
You mean my perspective, like in general, on business growth? I mean, it's good.
Open question, yeah.
It's a very open question. Look, I think I have very mixed feelings about business growth. Obviously, we all want it. Obviously, it's the core of all of us. Like, it's the core of what we do. But
Yeah.
I think very often it will supersede some things that should be more important.
Yep.
So, hey, how about we focus on the product,
Yep.
right? Hey, how about we focus on the customer experience? Hey,
Yep.
I think growth should come. There should be a team that's dedicated to growth.
Yeah.
But if that is if like blitzscaling is your model, then that's probably not like something that we're gonna vibe about. Because to me, like, and this is a character flaw of mine, that I'm
Yeah.
very conflict adverse and I don't like people being upset with me.
Yeah.
I think it should come secondary to making sure that your existing, be
Yeah.
it customer base, be it client base, be it whatever, are happy. Because otherwise, like, what are you doing? Like, if you're like, well, the numbers say that we can churn this percent, it's like, I don't know. Like, is that a nice feeling? So, very mixed feelings about just general growth.
In my opinion, I think you have very balanced feeling about it, and that's how it should be. To be completely honest, the growth should be the byproduct of everything that you are doing good, I guess.
Yeah.
It should not be your primary motivation, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So very interesting. So obviously, I mean, we definitely want to dig into the nuances of South American geography as well as Mexico. It's a very unique country. Obviously, there are different layers, and every country is going to be unique, I guess. Mexico has its own flavors. We have done a lot of different episodes in Mexico, and to be completely honest, I mean, from the business perspective, we have our legal entities. We do a lot of business in India, not from the business perspective, but more from the delivery operations.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work there. Philippines, we hire a lot.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I noticed, especially in developing countries, and this was my perception when I hosted some of my friends, from Mexico as well as from some other developing countries. And one of the things that I always get is doing business in these countries is extremely difficult, and that's my personal experience as well. You have to work ultra hard, and that gets you massive respect from my side, to be completely honest.
It's a little bit tough. Yeah, I agree. I love this. I think we have very similar experiences. I've spent some time in India. I spent 2 months in India. And I mean, and in general, if I'm talking Asia, I've lived also 2 years in Indonesia.
Yeah.
I did, a short stint. Like, look, I think the English speaking world tends to focus on English speaking consumer behaviors, and then focus on that as the universal. When you see like really thriving businesses, they'll have like different, basically, it's setups for the region of the world that you're operating in, because the cultural differences are so massive. So, for example, this is something that I think is very, very interesting. Is okay, so this changed recently because now everyone's just mostly phone. But there was a time in around the 2010s when certain countries, like I know for a fact Indonesia and Mexico, when you would look at what is your average consumer's primary access to the internet.
Yeah.
In the United States and in the UK, it was computers. Everyone had access to a computer. So, you should optimize. If you're talking e-commerce, if you're talking business, you're optimizing your websites for computers.
Yeah.
But when you looked at these developing countries, the most immediate access people had to the internet was phones.
Yep.
Because they're cheap and everyone needed one. And, the investment of a laptop is insane, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would I? So when looking at these like cultural differences, and you're speaking to English-centered business owners or people operating the business world, they'll assume like they'll assume that well, every consumer is the same, and it's like, no, like, and particularly myself, I'm in Mexico right now, and I'm looking at things like consumer behavior, like when doing shopping, like how are you getting to the e-commerce sites? How
Yeah.
are you doing your primary research? What
Yeah.
are the issues that you're having?
Yeah.
And if someone's coming to you and they go, I just run Amazon ads. You're like, all right, you don't understand like your basic consumer.
Yeah.
And like these localized differences are just so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And just as a one final thing, like, or just as a little bit of a divergence, when I was in Indonesia, we had Gojek, which is
Yeah.
motorcycle taxis. You could
Yeah.
call it on your phone, hop on the back.
Yeah.
It was 15,000, which was probably like with inflation and everything, probably like $2-3 now
Yeah.
to get home from work. That's something that like I'm in Mexico now and I'm seeing. Do you know what we could really use? Motorcycle taxis, because the traffic is getting insane,
Yeah.
and it's like just being open and receptive and loving of like other countries' cultures. And
Yeah.
I don't mean this like in like an appropriation way, but it just going and going, oh, that's really neat. I think really
Yeah.
opens up the panorama when speaking about these things. So I love all of this.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, I mean, some very interesting insights there. So, device differences, I didn't know that, to be completely honest. So thank you so much. And that changes everything for e-commerce, I guess, right? Because,
Yeah.
if your consumers are going to be somewhere else, if you're positioning your ads on, let's say, I don't know, desktop, I mean, that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be making a lot of mistakes, I guess, before I learn that, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, certainly it's like, all right, well, we're optimizing, the presentation, we're optimizing the listing on whatever e-commerce site it is. We'll make the text really big.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like you'll have because like 75% of your consumers are shopping through mobile.
Yeah.
And it's like these sort of decisions need to be happening just from knowing and understanding the place you're at.
Yeah, so very interesting. So obviously, I mean, we are going to talk about a lot of differences, and I don't know, I mean, how different Mexico is right now. And obviously, I'm going to be relying on you to talk about those differences. Some of the ones that I learned in my past episodes, number one, when we look at obviously the cultural, the consumer centric, issues or the trends are definitely going to be there. But there are also policy driven or the government mandated issues that drive business, to be completely honest. Okay, one of the things that I'm going to touch is number one, TikTok. Okay, very, very religious topic, right? I mean, the US, you want to have as many channels, right?
Yeah.
From the business perspective, I don't like to lose any channels just because somebody decided something, right?
Yeah, no, 100. Yes. Imagine you still have TikTok, right?
In the US?
Yeah.
As of today, yes.
Okay. Just as of today, yes. As of the recording date of this podcast, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And by the way, this is November 30th, 2023. And this episode is going to go in like 3 months. So we don't know whether we are going to have TikTok in the new year or
seriously.
not.
Oh, seriously. It's so bad. Oh, please let us keep it. I mean, I'm in Mexico. I don't think we were getting rid of it. But, TikTok is just so good. Everyone should be on TikTok. Everyone should have like a 16-year-old intern that has no respect for the world posting random just cat gifs on TikTok. It's such a strong driver.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly speaking, I mean, that changes everything, right? From the competition perspective, from your e-commerce strategy perspective, if a certain country is not going to have that. So lucky you that you still have that, because I don't know whether I think they have blocked this in Indonesia, if my understanding is right. Yeah.
But here's the thing: all our clients are like 95% American, so I need the U.S. to keep the TikTok going. Doesn't matter if I can look at the memes.
Yeah, and the other sensitive issue, I think, we are going to see a lot more disparity after, the AI. One of the things that I'm noticing particularly is, let's say, if you go to these countries, deepfake, we are having so much fun in the US right now. People are super pumped, excited. Media, I think, is the biggest consumer of deepfakes right now. Okay. And by the way, India is the first country, I believe, and you can call me out on this one if I'm off here in my insights. But I think India is the first country, okay, that blocked deep fake, okay?
How?
Which is a sensible step. Which is a sensible step. I agree with them.
But 100%, but how do you do it? How do you block deep fakes? It's so hard.
Yeah, but I mean, they have blocked it, to be completely honest, because this is really, I mean, financial security issue, national security issue, and to be completely honest, now your AI is able to access your web, it's able to access your channels, and you don't want to be,
I'll
having AI performing e-commerce transactions. That would be wild.
I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm putting every single piece of thing that I write into one single ChatGPT chat, and just like letting it keep track of it because I'm like, listen, I need you to write like me soon enough. It's like, so in some capacity, I'm trying to make like Ramiro GPT to just look, just hold on to this. I sound like a fool sometimes. I speak like a child sometimes.
We all do, right?
Yeah. Just hold on to it, and next time someone emails me, just respond in my end goal is to have just respond to my email, maybe in like 2 years. But yeah, no, AI is changing everything. I think I really like the assessment. I can't remember where I saw it that AI is functionally, it's not like taking people's jobs directly or taking
Yeah,
away the process, but it's a loom in the sense that you used to need hours upon hours to make a piece of cloth, and now boom, you can do it a
yeah,
lot quicker with a loom. Um, so what you end up having is, hey, everyone's gonna have more code.
yeah,
Everyone's gonna be outputting more content because
yeah,
now you can do that at a much stronger scale, and everyone's saying they're using it.
yeah,
Everyone is implementing it into their products, into their SAS. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, like AI. But very few organizations I think are doing it properly. And very few organizations are having like, I mean, you need like someone that really knows operations and really understands the core of the business to be
yeah,
seeing what can we optimize, what is beneficial to optimize, and what is just pretending we have AI. Like, oh, we have an AI task force. Really? And what are they doing?
yeah,
Like, come on, let's be clever about this. So I think for over the next 10 years, we're going to have like a ridiculous amount of new millionaires in the same way that crypto did it 6 years ago, and the same way that, the Industrial Revolution brought it around. Like,
yeah.
we're just in a period where there's a lot of money to be made with AI, which is really scary and
Yeah,
exciting.
I don't know what is scary. I mean, making money is not scary, okay? That's the fun part, okay?
That's
Everything
that's
else
that's the
that comes with it is scary.
that is the best look. That is the absolute best outcome. But anyone that's going into, I don't know. Like, look, this is always gonna get better, but anyone that's like in school right now to be like a graphic designer is
Yeah,
really, really scared.
yeah,
And you know what's next? Like, sure, it's doing right now like images, it's doing text, it's coming for our jobs as well eventually.
yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, it's definitely scary.
It's a race. It's a race. Like, look, there's gonna be a huge divide of the people that like the people whose jobs were automated and people who automated those people's jobs. And right now, it's a very, very scary race
Yeah,
to hop over to the other side.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
why I think it's scary. I mean, the money's great, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, there are going to be tremendous opportunities. I mean, the world is
Yeah,
going to change. The way we do things is going to be different. Our jobs are going to change. So it should not be scary, to be completely honest. I mean, it should be seen as the opportunity. But what I'm really scared of is the negative side of those things, how they are going to be utilized. I mean, that is a
exactly,
scary thing. That is
exactly.
definitely scary.
So I've been joking about this for years, and this is meant to be said in jest. So don't no one at me. I've always said that I'm never gonna die. Like why like
Never
oh
gonna
sure,
die.
I'm
How
never
does
gonna die.
that
Look,
work?
well look, I haven't died yet, so there's no proof, there's no empirical evidence that I can. But but now with AI, with like the steps in technology, it just kind of feels like in 30 years I'm gonna hey ChatGPT, what's the fountain of youth, and it'll go, oh here it is, don't worry about it.
Oh, so you
Uh,
needed AI for that
It's
realization.
it's
Oh,
gonna
I
collect
see.
it's gonna
Yeah.
collect all of human knowledge and beyond, and just be like, hey guys, you missed this one thing, and we're done. We're done. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if the world needs more of me for longer, but we're so off topic, by the way, Sam.
No, we are still talking about
Oh,
Mexico. I mean, that's what we are we wanted to talk about, right?
hmm.
So let's get dig deeper into that. So obviously AI, it seems that at least what I'm gathering from this conversation is AI wise there are no differences at this point of time. One of the differences that we have noticed from the other episodes is the whole invoicing piece, the way Mexico has done the e-invoicing aspect, and I don't know whether you get into the deep finance side of the e-commerce, but I mean, there are many changes because of that as well. Obviously, every single e-commerce business needs to know about, how to sort of operate in that context. So Mexico is very different from that perspective. So what I really wanted to get from you is, number one, let's say if a business is trying to penetrate into the Mexican market, what are the differences? What are the key differences that they should know before they create the strategy around that? The second is going to be the other way around. So do you want to take both of these scenarios and maybe talk about the
Yes.
differences?
Yes, 100%. And for a second, or at least for the purposes of this conversation right now, I'm going to pretend that my business doesn't exist. Okay? Let's just
Perfect.
pretend
I like
we're
it.
gonna put GoVans to
All
the
right, we
side
have.
and just say, all right, I'm a completely new, or I'm an established business and I want to break into the Mexican market. How am I
Yeah,
doing this?
yeah,
Okay. First of all, I think everyone's first instinct is through the North American Remote Fulfillment Program on Amazon, which is I'll put my stuff on Amazon and let Amazon cross the border and sell it. You're gonna get some sales, absolutely, but you're either gonna have to price yourself out of the market with Amazon fees, or you're gonna make basically no money,
yeah,
which is always not good. And also, your conversion rates are not going to be very good because who wants to wait a week? Which I have a thing about this, but who wants to wait a week for delivery times on Amazon? Like, or that's no, thank you. Like I don't want to pay like $8 extra to cross the border for like a $10 product and then have to wait a week for it. Which, by the way, Mexican e-commerce is booming. Like I just got this email yesterday, which
yeah,
I think was a really positive sign for me from our 3PL
yeah.
saying that FedEx cannot keep up with demand, and every single FedEx shipment is 8 days delayed.
Interesting.
Nationwide.
Wow.
So I saw that, and first I went, "Oh my God, we're gonna have so many returns." And then I also thought, "Wait, like Mexican e-commerce is going crazy." Like for FedEx, like FedEx is
Yeah.
an institution. This isn't, this isn't a bicycle messenger this is FedEx. For them to go, hey guys, hold up, give me 8 days, I can't keep up. It's just so encouraging for me. So that's a little bit of a side note. So your first thing is Amazon, and that's not probably it's fine. Then you find out that Mercado Libre actually holds a bigger market share than Amazon, and you're like, oh, so even then we're breaking up, like we're not even getting the full thing. Then you might look at retail, but really, how many of your average sellers in the U.S. have the connections to do retail internationally? Like none. Like that's not even viable. So then you're like, you know what? What if I send inventory into Mexico
Yeah.
and then just run ads, which is great. That's a fantastic idea. Except you can't.
Why is that? Yeah, describe, what's going on there. I guess, everybody's not going to have as
Yeah.
much experience in Mexico as well as e-commerce, I guess,
Yeah.
from our listener-based perspective.
So what happens when you're trying to send them to Mexico? They'll go, sure, absolutely. Who's your importer on record? And you'll go, my 3PL. And your 3PL will go, no, I'm not. I'm not taking that risk. Then you'll go, well, the Amazon warehouse, and they'll go, I'm not taking that risk. Then you'll go, well, the importer, and they'll go, I'll be your importer, but I can't hold the product. I have to hand it off to someone else. And it's like, okay, who owns this product legally? And after you go in circles, and after
Yeah.
you talk to, 3 or 4 accounting firms and then 3 or 4 lawyers, and everyone gives you different answers, what you will come to is the realization that you need a Mexican business entity to legally hold the product in the country.
Interesting.
Which is the easiest way to find this out is if you sell on Amazon, because obviously I'm e-commerce focused, and you go to Amazon Mexico and you say create a shipment. They go, sure. What's your tax ID? And you go, what do you mean with my tax ID? Here's my US one. They go, no. It's called an RFC. The SAT gives it to you with the Mexican IRS.
Yeah.
What's your tax ID? And I actually talked to someone that made one up.
Really?
They made one up. They put their address in country,
wow.
and then they got hit with a tax bill bigger than what they had actually made. So don't do that one. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So there's all these restrictions that it's not really like crazy. It is crazy bureaucracy, but there's a reason for that, and that is, well, we can't just have things that no one owns, like unaccounted for. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. And then you'll say, all right, let's create a business entity. Let's talk to a lawyer. And then you'll talk to a lawyer and they'll say one thing. And then you talk to another lawyer and then they'll say a different thing. And then you'll
Good
talk to
luck
an
with
accountant.
that.
And then, oh my God. I mean, look, Mexico and India, man, like we know what it is. It's like the foreign tax. Like, listen, it didn't cost me $50,000 to get my business entity up, but guess what? It probably is gonna cost you like 30 to 50 because you're foreign, and we're just gonna assume that you're speaking in English to us because you got dollars, so I'm gonna charge you. Like, this is the
Exactly.
reality.
Yeah.
This is the reality.
Right.
And then what happens then, and the reason that Amazon and Mercado Libre and Shopify and a lot of these places, Shopify, I mean, obviously each brand's own Shopify, not are barren or don't ship to Mexico, is because you realize the barriers to entry are too high.
Yeah.
And it's an unproven market. Guess
Yeah.
what? For a lot of brands, even paying the 30K could be worth it. It could be.
Yeah.
Because just Mexico is 120 million people.
Yeah.
Latin America, we're talking 667 million people.
Yeah.
This is a market that you want to be in.
Yeah.
But it's an unproven market. So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm gonna put down the 30K. You know what? Let's do it. What's my ROI?
Yeah.
Like, what's my expectation? And then you go, I don't know. So that's where the risk reward just hasn't been worth it so far.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm plugging it, but just because I'm really excited about this, what we did is we went, wait, we have a business entity.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like, we were speaking to people and it was like, yeah, I guess we could import. And we looked at it, and this was like a year and a half ago, because honestly, it was a lot of legal setup. But we go in and we're like, oh, okay, I'll go into another thing in a second. But we go in and we're like, wait, we can import and we can work around these regulations, and we can just be the importer on record and the holder and the ultimate goal isn't, I'm going to maximize your upside. Oh, of course, like that is an existing goal. I'm going to maximize your upside.
Yeah.
But I think the core thesis to what we did is, let me just minimize the downside.
Yeah.
Let me just get the risk low enough
Yeah.
to where it's worth it to you to come explore the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're not talking just money.
Yeah.
It's money, it's time investment, it's opportunity cost, it's
Yeah.
inventory being held. It's so many things.
Yeah.
That we were like, look, if we can get this to a point where it's manageable for people,
Yeah.
like it's digestible to go like, all right, let's try Mexico. Then we can see that upside that exists in the country. So I don't know. I'm really passionate about just, first of all, I used to trade for a living, which is embarrassing.
Why is it embarrassing?
Oh man, you don't want me to go into that.
Okay.
You don't want me to go into that terrain. But
okay, we'll keep that for the next episode, I guess.
Yeah, we'll keep that for the next episode. Well, yeah, ultimately, look, it took us 3 months to get a tax ID after we had the business entity up and running, because it was like there's no appointments to come to your tax ID. And we're like, we're trying to give you our money, government.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't want. I'm like, screw it. And we had to pay someone to sit on the government website,
Yeah.
day in, day out, refreshing to see if someone canceled a date, an appointment. You're not gonna know how you do that if you're like not from here. Like, I literally, this is very sort of random. I was leaving the bathroom at a co-working space I was working at.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine walks up and he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm not doing so good. He's like, why? I'm like, I can't get a SAT appointment, like an IRS appointment here in Mexico. And he goes, oh, dude, I know a guy. Talk to this guy. Pay him. He'll refresh. He'll just like spam refresh until your thing works. Okay. So I was lucky. That was nice. So, there's a lot of nuances, and this is just getting set up. You're talking consumers. You're talking getting to them. You're talking importing. You're talking logistics. You're talking regulations.
Yeah.
It's daunting. So I understand everyone that hasn't done it,
Yeah, so that's very interesting, I guess. And I don't know how scary that is, to be completely honest. And, I don't know if that is in every single country, but obviously Mexico has a lot more nuances in general. And one of the trends that I have personally noticed in a lot of countries that, look, if you're local, then you understand the geography, you understand the government. It's just easier, for the local companies. In general, honestly speaking, one of my worst mistakes that I have ever done is trying to set up an entity in a country. And by the way, I grew up in India, so I understand India very, very well. But even then, it's exponentially hard. So I'm never going to do that again in any country. I would rather utilize a company.
Yes. I think And look, I come from the e-commerce space, so everything I
Yeah.
say like is e-commerce focused. So many e-commerce sellers, like you started a small business. You're like, oh, you know what, Amazon? Oh my God, I can like put my products up and sell. So a lot of e-commerce sellers have this mentality of, can I do it in house?
Yeah.
Can I do it by myself? Because that's how I literally created this business. Like I don't
Yeah.
blame you for it. Um, but man, it gets to a point like if you have the cash to throw around, make your life easier.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like don't just throw it into the furnace, but
Yeah.
there is like like at least for me for my life philosophically, my I don't want to make the most money. I want to make the most money per hour worked, right? And have a decent work life balance, which I don't
Yeah.
have yet. I don't have yet. You can ask my wife, like well, my partner, we're not married yet, but you can I don't have a work life balance yet. Um But that should be your goal, dude. Just work through someone else. Let people that know what they're doing do what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's gonna take you 3 months of just learning, asking ChatGPT different questions to move. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So very interesting. So let's take another layer, I guess. The inventory, let's say if you have the local entity and hopefully, the margins are going to work somehow, I guess. That could always be tricky with e-commerce because,
Yeah,
the margins are so slim. The
yeah,
product is literally, it's like $10. So I don't know what you're going to make out of it, I guess, right? Um,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not easy, right? It's never easy because you are paying in ads and then you are paying for the local entity as well. And they are probably going to charge you 3 times because you are from a different country, right? You know how
Yeah,
this
yeah.
goes, uh,
Absolutely.
right? Now, so payment providers. I mean, one of the another episode that we have done, and in her case, she was trying to support one of the businesses, and they wanted to actually get into the Mexican market, and she had real challenges in Mexican market, and she was trying to actually implement Shopify. And you mentioned that Shopify is not there in Mexico, so integrating payment providers was really, really challenging for her.
Yeah. I mean, Shopify just I think I need to correct myself. Shopify is in Mexico, but very
Yes.
often when you go in, they'll go, we don't ship to Mexico. You go, oh dang it, because it's U.S. based companies. In general, payment providers are rough. They'll take a percentage, which is fine. There's
Yeah.
like volume based breaks, which is great. And then there's a little bit of know-how that's required. For example, if we do direct transfers from Mexico to the U.S.
Yeah.
And when we found out, some U.S. banks will take like $10 off the top for receiving an international payment, and you're like, "Excuse me?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you
I believe you.
mean?" Like I literally just sent cash.
Yeah.
So like what should I just package it in an envelope and send it down? Like, is that a better idea? So yeah, we decided to do straight transfers, but I've worked in the past with a couple payment providers.
Yeah.
Um, which I think opens up the conversation to something that's very interesting, which is cross-border FX exposure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm selling in pesos. That money is being held in Mexico for a while.
Yeah.
Then you have peso fluctuations. How
Yeah.
is that? Like, how am I handling that risk? And this is something that you can really tell when someone's thought about entering the Mexican market
Yeah.
when they go, so how do you handle FX exposure? And you go, oh, we're having a high level discussion here. Oh yeah. So, but fact of the matter is that happens to everyone. Coca-Cola has been in the country for I don't know how many decades,
Yeah.
and Coca-Cola is selling in peso and operating in peso, and I'm sure
Yeah.
eventually they translate that into USD and send it to some main entity. I don't know. I've never been Coca-Cola, but you'll always have that exposure. What's happened recently that is incredibly helpful for our business. And actually, I don't want to say it's all luck. I'll get
Yeah.
into it in a second because let's just talk microwave for a second. But um, the peso has strengthened against the dollar over the past year by about 15%, like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
We're trading. Last I saw, which was earlier today, was 17.39, I believe.
Huh.
17 pesos and 39 to a dollar, which it used to
Yeah.
be. We used to just round it to 20. During pandemic, we hit 25, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is Mexican macroeconomic trends are so strong. We just
Yeah.
posted, I believe, like a 3.8% growth in GDP this year,
Oh, wow.
which is, I've lived through 1%. Like I've been there,
Yeah.
Um, Mexican peso strengthening for the first time in my lifetime. When I was born in '92, it was worth $3, three pesos 86 or something for a dollar. So you can see that ridiculous growth, that ridiculous loss of purchasing power.
Yeah.
But what's happening is the pandemic, although it was a tragic event and it was very traumatic, and I don't want to downplay it, and I
Yeah.
really like I don't want to sound like a super hyper capitalist, but what I'm seeing is, or what the country is feeling in Mexico is really beneficial results macroeconomically. You saw every single port on the west coast of the United States being backed up like crazy, trying to get stuff in from China, and then people couldn't get their stuff in for months and months and months.
Yeah.
Containers out at sea. Suddenly, people went, we share a massive land border with Mexico, and they also have affordable manufacturing, and they also have what we're seeing is Mexico overtake China as a U.S. number one trading partner, which
Huh.
is ridiculous. We're seeing a freight out of Monterrey, which is the biggest city closest to the border,
Yeah.
200 miles. Um, just freight going like crazy in expense
Yeah.
because everyone's trying to get out. We have sourcing companies making money hand over fist,
Yeah.
finding that, and then you add to that things like remote work, where the amount of dollars flooding the Latin American market are massive.
Yeah.
You have things like the digitization of consumers, like I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
access to the internet, which we take for granted,
Yeah.
is still growing.
Yeah.
And what you have is a recipe for the next 10 years in Mexico
Yeah.
to be just a ridiculous bull run. So our thesis was literally, hey, Mexico's going to go a little bit crazy. Latin America in general, with
Yeah.
some exceptions, is going to go amazingly crazy over the next 10 years. How do we capitalize on it from this side?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not entirely luck. It's like 80% luck, but we are making some right decisions
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
navigate this market
Yeah.
or these situations, um, where look, being in Mexico, being in Latin America isn't. I'm gonna go in and double my sales because now I'm in two countries.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in, make about 15% more, and then be ready. Be ready. Like,
Yeah.
have an ROI positive experience from month 3 and just ride the wave with the market. Because that's what's like, how many millionaires came out of Amazon 2016,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how many people were selling art supplies? How many people were selling like the hottest thing on Alibaba? And
Yeah.
just that's where Mexico is.
Yeah.
Do you want to be the 18,000 review garlic crusher? I think we all want to be that. How do we like? That's what makes me so optimistic about what we do and about the country in general. It's the long term.
Yeah, very interesting. So let's take the other side of this, right? So let's say if any of the Mexican businesses are trying to penetrate in the US market, I don't know why they would do it right now based on what you are saying. If the Mexican economy is booming, then obviously you'll be investing there. But I'm pretty sure some businesses are optimistic about US economy as well, and they
Yes.
are trying to get here, right?
Yes.
So what would be the approach? Let's say if they want to get, what are the differences in your experience?
Absolutely. And I'm going to do this section in Spanish because no, I'm kidding. To get to the Mexican consumer.
We need
Mexican
ChatGPT here.
No, look, Mexican economy is indeed strong. It's not. I would say like maybe it's about to be booming. I think right now like it's doing well, but we're gonna see it really strengthen. I mean, we're talking about overtaking the Panama Canal on one of these giga projects that is happening. So, anyway, for the Mexicans going to the U.S., you absolutely also want to, for different reasons. I would say that right now, the Mexican market is sort of like the easy place where you can get pretty good volume,
Yeah.
but it's still dwarfed. I mean, U.S. is still king in this sense. And what I would recommend is don't launch straight in the U.S. I've met many people saying, "Hey, we are a Mexican company. We just launched in the U.S." And it's like, "How much? What's your advertising budget?" And they go $500, and you go, "Oh no, my guy!" Like, build up your skills if
Yeah.
you're an e-commerce person, but also build up your cash flow in
Yeah.
Mexico, and then leverage that into a decent sized U.S. Operation. For example, I worked with my favorite protein brand. I won't name them, but my favorite Mexican protein brand. And we're talking that these guys are selling 40, 50K on Amazon a day.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing very well. And they said, all right, let's break the U.S. market. And then I looked at their ads and I was like, you're running like $10,000 in spend a month. And they go, yeah, because we can't optimize it properly. And I went, who cares? You sell $50,000 a day?
Yeah.
Give me 50,000 to throw into a furnace. Like, let me throw my weight around, right? Like, if you're really serious about this.
Yeah.
So, look, I think if you're trying to go from Mexico to the U.S., understand that it's going to be much, much, much more expensive. CPC is 5 times more expensive in the U.S. than in Mexico. Build it up in Mexico, figure out, or Latin America, or whatever country you're in, figure it out.
Yeah.
Make sure you have enough cash flow, and then really put that into your projections. I think a U.S. operation shouldn't, like, if you have the cash for it,
Yeah.
bro, don't even look at profit margins. Do profit margins afterwards. Put everything into ads. Or, like, and if that's not feasible, then yeah, I'll definitely approach it with a lot of care.
Yeah, very interesting. So, are there any specific categories that do well in the Mexican market compared to the other markets in your experience?
Yeah, but that's proprietary, Sam. No, I'm kidding. No, look,
Sign up
we're
for this offer, okay?
yeah.
I'll send you my newsletter. You are going to get
No.
all intel in that.
Oh my God. We're going really, like, we have a plan of action of how we want to approach these things. We really believe we a couple of things. We saw how the U.S. market developed. You had your electronics, you had your art supplies, you had your so many things over time, that just um, took off one by one. But something that we're finding particularly good results in, like just outrageous results in, is the supplements, your cosmetics, your pet supplies, anything that's even remotely restricted.
Huh.
You know what? Barriers to entry also means opportunity.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Mexican market, you can see, like, oh, no one's come in. Oh, like my competition can't get in. We recently started working with a client maybe 6 months ago that was doing a 250,000 sales in a month in the U.S.,
Yeah.
which is a pretty good size. Like, like,
Yeah.
that's really nice.
Yeah.
I think only like 7% was that the data. Like 7% of sellers get over 100,000 or something like this. So
Yeah.
they're fantastic. They were like a small slash medium sized supplements company, because supplements can go to like infinity.
Yeah.
We ended up matching their U.S. sales in Mexico, which is outrageous, because
Yeah.
like I said, we aim for 15%, 20%. And we matched it because they were the first foreign brand in Mexico. And we got to just buy the top spots like it was
Yeah.
nothing, which is it's so silly. So anything that's even remotely restricted, anyone that can't get into the remote fulfillment, um, is where we feel a lot more comfortable. Look, if you're on remote fulfillment, if you're on global selling, if you're on like any sort of drop shipping, we still provide so much value because we're still giving you better margins and we're still
Yeah.
giving you next day delivery and all these things. But for a lot of these brands, it's like, no, you're like dominating the market. And that's what's really exciting to us. It's like, we're really valuable here, and that makes us happy. Like I said, it's all about the product, right? It's all about like how useful am I to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the categories that like where I feel particularly useful in.
Wonderful insights, and time flies when I'm talking to you. To be completely honest, I mean, the only
It's
thing we
because I
can take
won't
right.
shut up.
I think we need to record one more episode, maybe next
Totally.
quarter or something, right?
Totally. Oh, Sam.
So,
Oh, you can tell I'm down for this.
yeah, we definitely should. So maybe any sort of closing thoughts you have for our listeners right now for this episode?
Yeah. Don't sleep on Mexico. What's gonna happen is you're gonna like look at it like 3 years from now and go, gosh darn it. I heard that podcast. I should have gotten in. Like, I should have started at least looking at it. Look, it's December. Like, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, by the way, but like, it's right now. Like, it's November 30th. Like we said, um, no one's signing up for new things. I'm like, Q4 is my
Yeah,
entire life right now. If I'm a seller, um, but like Q1, Q2, what are you doing not looking at this and adding it into your yearly plan? Doesn't
yeah,
have to be with me. Doesn't have to be with GoFans. You should be just looking at Mexico in general. So, and baking it into your plan.
yeah. Completely agree. And my personal takeaway from this conversation is going to be, I mean, Mexico or any developing country for that matter are booming for sure, and they are definitely an opportunity.
Which, by the way, like, who would expect, everyone that's in e-commerce knows, but who would expect like obviously Amazon India is taking off, and that you expect that, like 1.2 billion people, you expect like it's a healthy market. Who would have expected Amazon Japan to be so strong? Like
Interesting. Yeah.
it's so like you said, like, and I mean they're not a developing country, but their e-commerce
Yeah.
market is not seen as a big player.
Yeah.
A lot of these expansion plays are just ROI positive so quickly that you should be looking at them.
Yeah, amazing insights, man. Love everything that you offer. Once again, thank you so much for your time. And this has
Thank
been
you
a
so
powerful
much.
episode.
Thank you so much. I have such a wonderful time speaking to you, Sam. Even like as soon we're gonna stop recording and we're just gonna chat. Like this is what we do.
Of course, we should. All right. Thank you so much once again for your time.
Thanks, Sam. Have a
Of course.
good one.
You too. I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you would like to learn more about Ramiro, head over to goavance.com. It's GOAVANCE.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to get you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.